officially get started. So, good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending this webinar. It's really good to see the attendance once again. I mentioned this at the beginning of every webinar is that the attendance actually keeps us motivated to do this type of webinars and to actually inform designers, professionals, users, draftsmen easier and more better ways to actually do design that'll save you time and, of course, the stress that's normally associated in a design office. So thank you very much. Today we're going to be looking at the road network design using civil site design, and it's going to be presented by myself, Shoaib Yunus, the BIM specialist in civil infrastructure for Baker Baines. All right, so for those that have attended the previous webinar for the intro for civil site design, this is more or less building upon that. However, I will just briefly recap or do a quick intro more or less on what we covered in the previous webinar for those that are actually new to civil site design very quickly. So this is more or less the agenda. So we're going to look at the introduction. Then after that, we're going to go and look at the functionality overview at a very quick glance. And then from there, we're going to dive straight into the software and generate a road network design. If you've seen my posts on LinkedIn, you would see that we're going to be actually be covering a road design, various intersections, cul-de-sac, as well as roundabout. Okay, so that's quite a lot to get through, but you can see how quick we're actually going to be doing it. And yeah, so at the end of the webinar, we are under strict time constraints, and I know it is Friday. So what we will do is at the end of the webinar, I will display all my details, contact details there. If you have any questions or so forth, please email me onto that, and they will be answered and published with the follow-up blog for this webinar. So all of our webinars have a follow-up blog. So if you have a colleague or friend that hasn't been able or wasn't available to attend this webinar today, they could actually go and check out the follow-up blog, which will have a recording as well as a brief description as to what exactly the webinar entails. So it's very cool for that. So yeah, at the end of the webinar, I will actually provide you with those details. So we're going to look at that, and then of course we're going to conclude. Right, so let's look at what actually is civil site design. A very quick intro. This is the exact same intro I did in the previous one where we looked at generating a single road corridor. But for those, like I said, who are new to civil site design, it's developed by Civil Service Solutions in Australia, and they are quite cemented in the industry. They're over 13 years in the industry or in the development stage of it, especially in civil infrastructure. And they're actually trying to customize the civil site design to our local South African standards. So there's continuous development and there's continuous talks between myself and the development team always to incorporate South African content in there, which is really, really awesome for us. Also, if you don't know about civil site design, it's actually an add-on tool, right? So if you have Civil 3D, which I highly recommend you use civil site design with, it forms a great duo. I mean, if you look at the road design functionalities that we are going to be covering in conjunction with the survey, terrain, and platform generation of Civil 3D, as well as its GIS platform, which is the planning and analysis, it makes a really, really good tool for a designer in the civil infrastructure space, right? So really, really cool. It is also comprehensive, so road subdivision, drainage, sewer, site works, house connections, those type of things are in the interface that are being developed and programmed in, as well as there is a water interface that's actually being developed in development stage. You will see that when you download the trial or the software at first, you will see the tools that are being developed in there. You can try them out, but I will show you that shortly. All right. So the great thing about this tool is actually it automates corridor design. So if you've been using Civil 3D or you're new to it, you should know that it's a very, very powerful tool. However, if you are not really clued up with it, sometimes it takes a long time to actually generate a road, and you can mess up your corridor also very easily if you have forgotten certain steps. All right, so this is where civil site design actually becomes so powerful and it allows you to achieve those goals much better. And of course, we Baker Benz, we are the exclusive partner of Civil Site Design in South Africa, and you can actually download the trial, or you can contact me for more info at the end of this. However, there is the trial link there, so you can quickly jot that down if you'd like. You can download it, try it out. You get 30 days, and it's very, very intuitive. And it also has a dedicated YouTube channel. So you've got enough resources to learn, as well as we provide the training for it as well. So you covered more or less on all bases. Okay, so that's my quick blitz intro on civil site design. Let's look at the overview of the functionality. So these are just some of them that I chose that actually stand out for me in terms of the civil site design interface. All right. Road, of course, your vertical alignments and stuff, it automates it so quickly. You will see that right now. It also has a pipe analysis, like I said. The water is in beta stage or in development stage. It has a HECRAS flood analysis. I was actually showing one of our clients the other day that you can do a stepped analysis in terms of the flood routing to show that how the flood will actually progress on site, or the water will flow on site, depending on your HECRAS analysis. So that's really cool. But the main two things that we're going to be looking at today that's going to help us achieve and design a road network very quickly is these two functions here at the bottom. So it's the built-in auto road creation function as well as the auto curb. You will see how this speeds up your design very, very, very quickly. All right. So, and of course, it is very small file size. What it does is the DWG is couple or more or less a very, very small megabyte size, and it extracts the intelligent data to a separate folder. So if you want to share this via your A360 Autodesk Drive or whatever other means you're using to share it with, you can actually zip it and it'll fit in an email attachment very, very easily because of the size. So that's also very, very a plus side of it. Okay, so that's just a brief intro as well as a functionality overview, and now we can actually be jumping into the road network or into the software itself. I will just give you a verbal recap of what we actually did. All right, and then you will see exactly where we are right now. So in the previous webinar, what we did was we looked at this road here on the left, and we did it using just on its own, rather. Okay, getting a bit tongue tied this morning, but yeah, we just took it in on its own. We designed it from start to finish. I'm gonna fly through that very, very quickly so you have a brief recap, and then we're gonna look at it how we can tackle it in the perspective of an entire road, right? So as you can see on your screen right now, I've already generated a surface to save us some time. So this is actually a survey surface that you could generate with your land XML text, those type of things. You can see it's in the object viewer here. All right, we've generated that. And what we've done is with the alignments, so the red that you are seeing on your screen, we just use the normal alignment creation tools for Civil 3D. Okay, so this is the workflow that you will actually follow in terms of start to finish. All right. So from start to finish, that's what you would actually do. You will use the alignment tool, or you will generate a surface using the normal survey tools in Civil 3D that I'm just highlighting here. And then from there, you'll plot your alignments as to where you would like them to be. And then once you have that, you can actually switch over to Civil Site Design. So in Civil 3D, you should see these normal tabs here. But when you install Civil Site Design, you might have some additional tabs on the top here. The main tab being the Roads tab. So if I click on the Roads tab, you will actually see the tools that are available with Civil Site Design. Okay, you can see it's very graphical. We as engineers, designers, draftsmen, professional, graphics say it much better rather than text savvy things. So the same concept of a picture says 1,000 words. This more or less the concept that we use in actually developing the software. So this is what we did, much more visual, you will see in a bit. And what we'll do now is I'm going to start with this road here. All right, so I'm just going to generate one road very quickly. I'm just going to fly through it very, very, very quickly. So let's get into it. So I'm going to use the road creation function, all right? And I'm going to select the alignment. And then from there, you're going to actually generate the road cross section, okay? I'm going to show you where I get that just now. But once you develop your cross sections, you can save them to your library, be it a local library, which is your PC, or a server, right? So public library. So everyone has access to it for future projects, and you don't have to go and recreate the cross sections all the time. So you can do it once and save it. So I've got some preloaded ones here or pre-saved ones. I'm going to be using this road's a 6-meter width road. I'm going to be targeting the service. In terms of the orange lines that you see on the right hand side, those are more or less your increments or your segments, right? You can adjust them accordingly. These are fully editable, but I'm going to leave them as 10. And then, of course, you have some more advanced sampling sections here, right? The cool thing is, as you can see, as I hover over a function, it shows you exactly on the graphic what you are actually dealing with, right? So very, very cool. Also, in terms of your road reserves or your section widths, you can specify them as well. I'm going to leave it as 15. And another good thing is when you generating intersections, you can set an auto VC curve, vertical curve, when linking, right? So if I give you an example of this, is sometimes you have roads that have a very, very bad dip when you're approaching a cambered road, or you're linking to a road where its camber is maintained. And that curve, sometimes depending on your speed, it could be really bad on your car. It could also, if the drainage is bad, could be very bad from a surface damage perspective. So there's various bad effects of that. You could actually control that vertical ease using the software. So very, very nice. So I'm going to leave this as the default and look at this, right? So I'm just going to click OK. And as I click OK, you can see my road corridor has automatically been generated. All right, there we go. Generated, and it also does a best fit vertical alignment for you. So how quick was that? Normally you would have to generate an alignment, create a surface profile, set the surface, generate or set up your long section. From there, go and plot your vertical alignment with your PIs, then link it, adjust it, and then you will be to this stage. I've just done this with one function. So just bear that in mind, right? Of course, it's fully editable. You can see as I hover on the long section here, it's got a cursor tracker on the actual alignment in plan view. So that's nice, gives you a good perspective of where you're working. And like I said, you can adjust these as you would like, depending on where you want to move it. And of course, you can also edit it using the Excel functionality. Okay, so these are fully editable. If you like using Excel for a much more accurate design, there we go. You have that functionality as well. So you've got those types. Of course, your grades are here, changes, those type of things. In terms of the cross section, okay, we actually develop it using this window here, and you've got various types of templates that are pre-built in here. Okay, the one that I'm actually using is the 6 meters. So here we go. You can generate this using the Excel. I touched on this on the previous webinar. So if you are interested, please go have a look at it. Like I said, the links will be available at the end of the webinar, and you can go and see how we did this so easily. Okay, you can see this is more or less the functions that we use to create the cross sections, the layer works, those type of things. Okay, those are there, and you can apply it to either one side, both sides, and you can also assign codes to it. So that's exactly what we did there. Batter is more or less your daylights or your slopes in terms of Civil 3D. You can set them up for left and the right hand side in terms of your cut and full slopes. And of course, your subgrade sections, you can edit it by clicking on an existing section and doing it. Okay, so that's more or less what we did and how we have assigned a cross section. So we have assigned a cross section, that type of things. There's also a very good function here for very complex road designs, or when you're generating rule-based designs in terms of your cut and fill. There's variations, which is the most common one used, where you can set the cut and fill that if the drain is in this type of cut, then generate this type of option. So it's more or less like scripting or programming, if you're very familiar with that, which you can actually do with the software. Okay, so that's a brief fly through of that. And of course, you can generate quantities, you can generate road surfaces, those type of things. Okay, so you can see the quantities are here, and you can do it section by section, subgrade, material total, those type of things, and you can do it per road or per an entire road network. So because we've got one road, or we just done a section of road, we've got just a single part of it, and that's it. So that's what we did in the previous webinar. Okay, and from there we actually generated a road network, or the plan and profile drawings, which was using the auto plot command, and we just generated long sections and stuff like that. Okay, so you can use that or that, doesn't matter, and you can do cross sections plotting as well. So that's a brief rundown very quickly of what we covered before. So what we're building on now is actually taking a road from isolation into actually generating an entire road network. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the road auto function, but before that we can actually set defaults up, right? So currently, I'm just going to be using one cross section here for all the alignments in the road network. So I'm assuming a uniform cross section. However, if you have different or varying cross section, which is most of the case, all right, or most realistic in practice, you can come and assign them here to whichever alignment you'd like. So these are all the alignments in my road network, and from here, depending on that, you can specify which cross section. So you can have maybe this alignment with a 2.5 meter lane on either side, that with 3, that with 4.5. So you can specify it. You can specify the VC. I just showed you that just now, and from there you can click OK. So it uses these parameters when generating a road network, but just for time purposes, I'm going to use one cross section. Okay, and we're going to do that. So once we've set that, we can go to the auto road creation function. We can, like I said, it brings you back to that familiar interface. I'm going to leave everything as a default, and I'm going to click OK. And once I do that, watch what happens. So when I click OK, it pops up with the list of alignments that you actually have in your alignments or into your road network. And you can see I've currently got these two skipped. Okay, these were my offset alignments that we're going to be using for the roundabout design. So I'm very happy with what I see here. Everything is a road. However, you can choose what you would want to specify it as. And I'm going to click OK. And you see it picks up more or less the intersection point. So I'm just going to click OK for that. And from there, as you can see, in a couple of seconds, right, it actually generated the entire road network. Look at that. Okay, so I'm not doing any voodoo or magic here. I'm not Dynamo. But listen, you can see it does generate the corridors for you. All of these are done with their vertical profiles, with their cross-section design, with the corridor assigned. You can go and then check the proposed vertical alignment done by the software. All right, of course, always apply your vertical or your engineering judgment to any design. The software is there just to assist you with design, but in principle, design and practice always precedes, right? So we've got these done and dusted very, very quickly. If you had to do it using conventional Civil 3D, you will have to do each alignment individually. Okay, generate a corridor each for each one, generate a top surface for each one, bottom surface, corridor, set your targets. It's a long process. Okay, I've just used 2 functions so far, and you can see the benefits in time saving here. All right, so we've got that done. But as you can notice here that the intersections more or less are not created yet, right? So we can generate this the same way that we actually did the roads. So same as we had an auto road function here, we have an auto curve function. So auto curve return, all right. I can see one of my vertical alignments are actually still open here, so I'm just going to find that quickly. Here we go. All right, so I just close that. And now we're going to use that. So we go to auto curve function. All right, so it asks you for a default radius. So let's say this is generally the case, especially if you're doing urban infrastructure. When you're doing a road network, a grid system, that type of thing, most of the roads, because it's arterials or access or whatever, you have a default radius more or less in the intersections, because you know it's not going to be trafficked by your design traffic and your SDPs and stuff like that. So you normally use a default radius for the entire road network, and then from there you go specify or change the ones that you need to alter. So I'm going to use 10 as a radius for all of them, and as I click enter, just give it a few seconds. All right, you should see on your screen that it will start generating the functions or the intersections very quickly. And if I zoom in, voila, it's done. Okay, as quick as that. Like you can see, it's a live demo. So very quickly, everything is done. All the intersections are done in the entire road network, which is crazy. Okay, especially if I'm a person that's been using Civil 3 for a long time. I know exactly how much time this actually saves. So this is a very great tool in terms of that. So I'm gonna just get back to the road, the roundabout. I see that in terms of different road widths and tapers, you can set the cross sections according to your varying road widths. So that same box or that same cross section that I've used to generate the cross section, when you're using the design data form where I showed you there's variations, you can assign that from chainage 100 to 150, it's going to be of this width. Then from maybe 160 to 170 or 200, it's a different width, and it will auto taper it for you, or it will join it for you depending on your taper settings, right? So you can have that functionality for you, which is there to use in terms of the design data form. Okay, so now that we've actually done the road widths, yeah, the next thing we're going to be looking at is a cul-de-sac. So I've got a nice section here. Okay, I've chosen to do a cul-de-sac, and we've got a pre-built in wizard for a cul-de-sac on the top here. Okay, so just look there. Once we click cul-de-sac, it's going to ask us if we want to amend an existing one or do a new one. So you can see you can also use it for road reconstruction, but in this case you're going to be using a new cul-de-sac, and it brings up this wizard. Okay, so there's various built-in configurations that you can use. The most common one, of course, is the circle, which is currently on. However, you've got bi-center, asymmetric, which is like a clubfoot. You've got a bi-center, same more or less methodology. You've got a T that's normally used at if you do bowling clubs and stuff like that, or golf clubs. Depending on the space and space constraints, they actually use this configuration. You've got a fork, as well as if you want to do your own, or you want to offset it or target it to a different alignment, you can actually use this function, which is rarely the case, but you've got that functionality for you. Okay, so once we've done that, we're just going to create a cul-de-sac very quickly. So I'm just going to call it CDS because I'm lazy to actually type cul-de-sac, right? And then you just specify the road that's coming in and the code that's to match. Okay, so ETW is the edge of travel way. Okay, it's all common terminology, but if you do get confused, it is also clarified on YouTube, or you can actually contact me. I will give you that. But yeah, you just set the target. The chainage, you can actually click either on where you want it to start or more or less enter it. I prefer entering it because that's how design is, much more accurately. And I'm just going to use some random radiuses in terms of the configuration, right? So let's see, let's just try maybe 8 there, try 15, and let's say, okay, let's swap it around. Let's do 15, let's do 8, and 15, right? So this is just totally random. If it comes out weird, that's because of the random radiuses I've used. But let's see, right? So once you've got that, we're happy with what it is. You can say create update alignment, and you can see in the background that it's actually generated. So I can see now that this 195 should be actually moved up a bit, as you can see there, because it's still got some stretch a little bit there. So maybe let's make it 198. Okay, and then we say create update alignment, and you can see that it has shifted to the end there. All right, so that's the cul-de-sac that we're actually going to be generating. If you want to also change this, so if you want to maybe make that 8, and that 15 and that 8, you can create the update the alignment again, and you see it gives you a bigger option. Okay, so let's go for a bigger one, and I'm just gonna maybe move this more down. So let's try 195 again. Okay, still nothing. 190. Okay, let's say 188. Okay, I think we're getting closer now. And here we go. Okay, so I'm maybe one I like that. So I just wanted to display that you don't have to go and troubleshoot it, do it first, and then come back and start again. Okay, as you update it or as you generate it, you can see it being generated in plan, which is a very, very nice thing. So that was the purpose of that exercise. So once we have that and we're happy with more or less how the configuration is going to be looking, we can go to the vertical gradient control, which is more or less your vertical design. All right, and you can actually generate or specify a cross-section template. It has built-in templates which we can be using, so I'm happy with what that is. And then from there it will tell you no sections for the road first, but it'll give it just a few sections to more or less generate, and you can see in the background it has been done. Okay, so once you close that, you'll see that the cul-de-sac is done and dusted. It's as easy as that. You can also generate this. You can see that it has also picked up that we need an excess alignment, and it has also imported that for you. So very, very cool tool. It more or less has your back covered, and you can actually use that for cul-de-sac design. So that was cul-de-sac design done very quickly. The last aspect that I actually want to look at, or before we actually jump there, is the model viewer, right? So we're going to create an auto model very quickly. So what this does, it has a visual scripting part of it where you can actually see the model in a more better or aesthetic context. So you can specify here all types of different things. You can see there's point cloud functionality as well. In terms of material, colors, those types of things using the settings tabs, but I'm not going to really get into that very quickly. But once we have that, I'm just going to click OK. And give it a few seconds to generate. Okay, and here we are. We have a very nice visual 3D model of the roads, which is really cool also in terms of a visual aspect of things. Okay, and you can orbit around here as you'd like. You can see the labels are on there as well. You can toggle the display if you want to switch certain things off and on. You got that availability there. You have analysis for sight distance, which will allow you to see whether the criteria is met or not. You have a drive-through function, same like Civil 3D, and you also have line marking that you can attach here, which I covered in the previous webinars. So those are more or less it in terms of the model viewer. I just wanted to show you that. But please, if you haven't seen the model viewer properly or the line marking and stuff, please catch the previous webinar. Okay, so that's just the model viewer. I'm going to close that. The next thing I want to do is the roundabout design. So as we look here, or as we zoom in to the roundabout itself, you can see that the curbs actually need to be widened here, right? Because the auto curb function did not take into consideration that you can have a roundabout this wide. So it's very easy. We just go back here and we actually can edit it. You don't even have to click on the curb itself. You can click even close to it and it will update and will pick it up. So I just want to update the radius. So I'm going to make that maybe 15. And then I click create update alignment. And then I click close. And you should see that now that curve has widened. So you can see the difference there and the difference here. So you can do that to all of the curves individually. So let's just do that very quickly so that we have a balanced design. Okay, so 15, create update, close. Okay, and as you can see, I'm actually not snapping to the curve, but rather clicking very, very close to it, and it's actually picking it up. So that's really nice. You don't have to have your snaps on. Um, the Civil 3D and AutoCAD users should know what I'm actually referring to there. So really nice on that part of things, and I think we've done. So we've actually sorted out those curves. I see that's okay. I'm happy with those spaces. Now what we're going to do is we're going to generate the roundabout. And same for this as well. We have a built-in wizard, roundabout wizard on the top here. And what we have to do is click on the inner alignment. So those two alignments that I skipped earlier, that's exactly what it is. I'm going to click there. And here we go. So it picks up my inner and outer alignments. I'm going to specify them. I'm going to use my built-in template. My sampling is going to be 1. And of course, it's going to auto pick up the roads that are intersecting at the cross section, which is very nice. I'm going to include it in my total model, and I'm just going to create it. Simple as that. When I click OK, done. All right, done. Now, a lot of people are actually probably looking at this and thinking, what? Seriously, it is as quick as that. What you've seen right now, it is as quick as that. And of course, this will update also. If you go to your model viewer, you will see this roundabout here. So that is the roundabout design. We've done cul-de-sac. What have we left out for this session? I don't think we've actually left out anything, but you can see how powerful these tools are. If you want to edit anything, you just go back to the tools, you click on the alignments, it takes you back to there. So yeah, that's just the road functionality and exactly what I wanted to cover for this webinar. Okay. I see I also said that I'm going to show you the interface that is in beta or in development stage. This is the pipes that you're actually seeing on the top here. All right. So you can see that these tools are coming up here. At the moment, you can generate a pipe network and use a rational method for design analysis purposes using the drainage pit pipe functionality. If you want to see more or less the settings, I can just show you that very quickly. So let's just let that load. So this is more or less the interface that we are using at the moment or developing. You can see again, very visual, okay? So it shows you more or less what you're developing or what you're dealing with. And of course, you've got your mannings, those type of things in here. Viscosity, for all the hydraulic engineers or the water engineers, you can actually customize that. You've got displays, you've got pipe tables that you can incorporate, catalogs. I'm actually working on the catalogs part of it to bring in our own, or is as simple as getting a PDF and entering the values. Once you've done that, it's going to take you a little while, but you have it for future projects as well as saved to your catalogs and to your libraries. It also does clash detections for house sewer connections in terms of your proximities. There's your house connections, for example. It does services, sewer, drainage, and general. So this is currently in beta stage, or like I said, in development stage, and I'm actually really amped to see this coming into our network or into the software, because then it's going to be a full holistic software in terms of incorporating the water part of it. But even so, as it stands, with Civil 3D and the civil site design combo, it's going to work magnificently together. From a civil and road perspective, you have all the tools to help you. So that's just the civil site design aspect of it, and that's what I wanted to actually cover. All right. So I'm going to switch back to my presentation on my PowerPoint very quickly. So let's just switch screens. Okay, so we've finished with that, and that was more or less what I wanted to cover in a very quick blitz webinar. Like I said, my webinars are normally like 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the content being shared. I like to keep it brief, streamlined, quick fire, and they are normally hosted on a Friday. Okay, so this is my conclusive summary. I've showed you that how much easier and faster it is to actually design using civil site design. I mean, cul-de-sacs and roundabouts, you should actually be sold by that, especially the auto road and auto curb function. It makes your life a breeze, especially with a lot of developments and stuff coming up in terms of urban infrastructure. It's a very, very useful tool for those accesses. Corridor automation in minutes, graphic illustration, like you can see the model viewer, just took a quick snap of that and put it on there. Cross sections done, model viewer in terms of line marking, road marking tools. If you have OBJ files, you can actually import road designs or road signs in terms of construction signage into there as well for the rendering. So you have a host of resources available for you. Okay. So this is more or less all our details. Like I said, our company Baker Bains, we host webinars on a weekly basis, and it's across all different spectrums in terms of design. So in the fields of architecture, engineering, construction, process plant, manufacturing, mechanical, we have webinars on different types of topics. So you can actually, depending of, especially if you're a multidisciplinary uh, firm or consultancy, you can actually tune in every week and actually learn, as well as if you are keen in interest in design as myself, you also want to keep an eye on what's going on in other industries, as we always collaborate with each other, especially with a design perspective. So it's a good heads up to also have. And we have, of course, a dedicated LinkedIn page. In terms of the civil site design, this can be downloaded from our website itself, but if you want that link, you can jot that down very quickly, or just, like I said, bakerbains.com is easy enough. And of course, my webinars are always in the civil infrastructure built environment. Also a lot of programming stuff that's going to be coming up soon, especially with Dynamo, which is for scripting. I'm looking at actually doing a webinar on that soon. But please, if you'd like to be in sync with me and look at like all my webinars coming up, see the topics, the dates. I also post really cool stuff in terms of a design perspective on webinars, as well as our industry on LinkedIn. So you feel free to follow me or add me on LinkedIn. It's really good having a good industry base and interacting with you, seeing what your problems are, what your current challenges. Also, if you have future topics that you would like us or like me to look at or cover, feel free to drop me an email. It's shuaib@bakerbains.com, and we can always schedule that in the near future. So a lot of access to you for us. And even if you just want to say hi, comments on the webinars, look, I'm very approachable, very friendly. We at Baker Bains are very friendly. So please feel free to interact with us. So again, to recap, uh, any questions that you do have, or if you've seen anything or you like what you've seen, also a good heads up is also very appreciated on our side. Just drop us an email, and if there are questions, it will be included in the follow-up blog on our website, and you can go and access that, share it, watch the recording, those type of things. So thank you very much for your time. Have an awesome Friday, and see you soon for our next webinar.